Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to this unboxing first impressions walkthrough of the Tarot of Mystical Moments. So I have a confession. I had the Oracle of Mystical Moments. It's beautiful. I couldn't gel with it at all. And it's not because the artwork wasn't gorgeous. It's because I couldn't marry the artwork with the titles or the keywords. They were more titles than keywords, which I think was basically my biggest issue. But when I started seeing images of the Tarot of Mystical Moments come out, I knew this was one that I was going to get along with very, very well. So I'm really excited to dive into it. I've already taken off all the plastic and done all the things so that we can just get into it. But if you haven't heard, Tarot of Mystical Moments is created by welz-stein. As I mentioned, her Oracle of Mystical Moments was wildly popular from what I gathered. The artwork, her artwork is incredibly beautiful and is definitely very dreamlike and has this surreal quality that really, really is intriguing. It says that she is a popular inspirational artist and that she created this magical tarot deck in her signature collage style with lush images drawn from her intuition and imagination. Now this has 83 cards because, as I understand it, she originally designed the deck to be wholly feminine. So the kings and some of the other cards that would normally be depicted with masculine figures, she depicted with female or feminine type figures. And so in this version of the deck, there are actually male or masculine alternatives for those cards, which I think is really great. So you can kind of choose which ones you want to work with, or you can work with them all, which I think is awesome. I love it when deck creators and publishers give us choices. If they want to take a departure, but they give us options, that's fantastic. So I'm really excited. And it's in, as per usual with US Games, a nice sturdy two-piece tuck, or not tuck box, but two-piece box. So let's get into it. Now the cards are, do I have a standard tarot deck near me? Yeah, I do. Oh, I just had to reach. Okay, so they are a little larger than standard tarot sides. So let me just grab this Way of the Panda Tarot, which is an indie deck, but I know is standard tarot size. And yeah, you can see that they are a bit wider and a bit taller. I'm really excited that they're a little bit oversized like this. I have larger hands though, so I am a little biased in that way. I typically don't have trouble shuffling larger decks, and quite frankly, I'm really excited that we'll be able to sink into this artwork. Now, one of the common complaints I've heard about the deck is that it came out glossy. And for those people who had the Oracle of Mystical Moments, that deck was matte. The Oracle of Mystical Moments was also a standard tarot size, and this is larger. And I get why that would be frustrating for people who want to work with the two decks side by side. To have there be different cardstock like that is really incongruous. How do you say that? Incongruous? Where's the emphasis? I'm putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable. I don't know. Anyway, that's not an issue for me, though, because I don't currently have the Oracle of Mystical Moments. And I will admit, though, that not having the Oracle of Mystical Moments, I'm actually less inclined to get it and try again with it in order to work with this deck because of the cardstock differences. I just feel like that'd be a little bit awkward, so I totally get where people are coming from with that. Now, as far as the gloss goes, I'm not overly concerned. I far prefer a matte cardstock, but sometimes with certain types of artwork, there's something that I don't mind about gloss. And I will say right off the bat, this is a very slidey gloss, not that kind of sticky, clingy gloss. Like look at that. I noticed that when I took the plastic off. I was like, okay, we're gonna be fine. So yeah, that's my initial thoughts. Now this is gilded in a silver gilding, which is fine. Sometimes if the cardstock's a little too thick, that silver gilding or the metallic gilding like this can actually kind of hurt my hands a little when I shuffle. We'll see what I think when I do my first shuffle, but I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. I almost think that it would have been nicer to have a matte edging on this, or no edging, like a matte edging or a matte gilding, as opposed to something so metallic. I just feel like it would suit the deck better, but we'll see. We'll see. Love, though, how gorgeous this backing is. And I haven't heard anybody compliment US Games yet, but there is no, oh, I lied. I was going to say there's no copyright on the backing. There totally is. It's just really hidden. So there is a copyright. It's hidden in this scroll work right here. But I have to say, it's very hard to notice. So props to US Games for an improvement there. It'd be better if there were no copyright on the front and the backs of the cards, but whatever, I'll deal. So here we have the introductory card to the Tarot of Mystical Moments. Katherine welz-stein creates her distinctive collage art by drawing from her intuition and her imagination, integrating her own personal stories with a feminine point of view. She originally made Tarot of Mystical Moments with mostly female archetypes, including 5 cards that are typically male, the Emperor and the 4 Kings. She later made male versions of these cards to allow the reader to decide which rendition to work with. Thus, the 83-card Tarot of Mystical Moments deck offers 5 bonus cards, which readers may choose to include or remove. You may also customize your readings by adding in cards from the Oracle of Mystical Moments for further insight. See page 92 for instructions. I'm curious. You can't shuffle them in, that's for darn sure. So I'm assuming they just mean, oh, I see reading with the where is it, 92? Oh, wait, no, 92 is just a spread. Huh. For further clarification, you may wish to pull 2 additional cards from this deck or from the Oracle of Mystical Moments if you have it. Oh, okay, that's what they mean. Well, okay. So let's set that aside. Oh my gosh, this. Okay, I will say I'm not mad at the gloss, and maybe that will change as I try to work with it. I know I'm getting some reflect. If I shine it, you can kind of see where my ring light is over to the side there. But I'm not, there's something about it. It makes the artwork seem so vivid, so I don't know. Bumping up the saturation maybe and doing it matte still would have probably been my preference. Not probably, still would have been my preference, but this isn't, I'm not mad at it. So let me bring it up just a bit and let's go through the cards. So right away, our Fool here is walking on the underbelly, the underside of the tail of a crocodile or an alligator that is underneath the surface of the ground. And you get this idea, there's this like little flower up here, and there's this idea that like, she's like, la la la, everything is good, but there's this giant creature beneath the surface. I also feel like there's probably a nod to Thoth there, but I don't fully know yet the symbology of the crocodile in the Thoth card, so I can't speak to what that is because I haven't studied Thoth just yet at the time I'm filming this, but yeah, that's really beautiful. I love all the lush greenery and the flowers. Oh, pretty, pretty, pretty. Here's our Magician. I love how instead of a rabbit and a hat, we have a hat, and it's almost like a house being held. And within that hat, we have this beautiful swan, the girl with like the hat on. We have a gorgeous butterfly over here. She's holding a magic wand. This literally feels like almost like making your own magic, like coming up from within, making your own magic. That's really pretty. This High Priestess card is so striking. I am digging the curtains here that are in that really vivid red, the ship that is happening, the water underneath her, like in front of her skirt with this ship, the moon behind, like that is very High Priestess to me. And I love this spiral shell at her throat. That is beautiful. The Empress, this is so gorgeous. So she's almost made of the flowers. There's this lush, she is made of the flowers. Like her skirt is all floral. The little stamens are coming out over here. There's all these roses, but there's also this like baby. You can see almost like a cross section. But above, she seems very like, if you look at the card just from here up, she just looks very put together, but there's all of this happening. It's almost like, to me, like there's so much more to her than meets the eye. So much more potential, I feel like, beneath the surface, which is not a keyword I normally use for the Empress, but I love it here. Ooh, there's our Emperor. And there's our Emperor. Okay, which one of these? I really like the way that all these figures are on strings here. It does seem to speak a little more to the shadow side of the Emperor. I think for now, I'm going to work with the male Emperor and pull her out, but she's pretty cool. And there's our male Emperor, just again, very regal, full of power. I love this like branch that makes the mustache, and the fact that the city or this almost like the citadel is on his head here in the form of the crown. A vast landscape behind him. Oh, I love this Hierophant so much. This is giving me Alice in Wonderland vibes for sure. Love the moon in the background. It looks like the owl is reading a story to the girl. Oh, that is such a beautiful depiction of the Hierophant. Gorgeous. the Lovers. Okay, my personal heart is a little happy that you can't quite tell. I like that it's almost like a bird here and like a feminine, yeah, feminine figure on that side. I feel like it lets me at least change out what I think I'm seeing there a little bit, which I like. That's really cool. I love the dreamlike quality to this deck. The Chariot as the snail, and then she's got a snail shell as part of her like headpiece or her hair. I love that. The snail is a really great symbol for the Chariot because, of course, we're carrying our home on our backs. Just like a turtle is a great representation, I think, of the turtle's more like a hermit to me, I guess. I don't know. I really like this, though. I like how it turned out. Love the Strength card. The lion there, like leaning his head into her lap. I love that she actually looks like she's part of the lion as well. If you look at her face, it's almost like she's got a little lion nose, little lion ears, a lion tail herself wrapping around. So you definitely get this idea of like being one with one another. Like there's a harmony happening. There's an integration, maybe is a good word, happening. The Hermit card, shining a light for the ships. That's so great. I love that she's still up high. This is very Rider-Waite-Smith. And if you are really familiar with the symbology in a classic Rider-Waite-Smith deck, I think you'd actually do pretty well, at least from what I'm seeing so far. The wheel. I really love this. Like all these wheels have to turn to make things happen, but there's also a lot of places things can go wrong. It's really interesting to me. She's got a gear or a wheel turning right around her heart. Pretty. Justice. Love all the gold. It's kind of a funny thing to be specific about, but I love when Justice has an upright blade that's leaning to neither direction. I picked up a tidbit somewhere along the way about Justice being impartial and not leaning either direction, reflecting the lack of bias, right? And so I now like kind of look for that. I can get over it if it's not perfectly straight up and down, but I kind of find that I prefer it. So I like that that's here in this card. Oh, something else I just noticed as I was getting ready to put that away. I also kind of like that she's high up and that she has this like big picture perspective, like she's looking at everything from a wider view or from further back. I really like that about that card too. More Alice in Wonderland. It's probably the blue dress, but I love this Hanged Man. I love how she looks like she's almost on point, like she's dancing on point, but she's also kind of dangling from this zipper that's unlocking this lush world and opening up the sky. You get this feeling like her willingness to give herself over, to surrender in that way, is opening up new possibilities. The Death card. Love, growth, and again, a butterfly or a moth there. These are so beautiful. Wow, I am like really taken with this deck. Temperance is stunning as well. I like here that she has one of these, I think it's a dove, resting and one in flight. You get that idea of liminal space here. I love that. And I also love this like very garden-y feel. I feel like I've literally stumbled into, I don't know, like a whole magical surreal world. The Devil card here, this is such a trip. Like on one hand, she looks super polite. Like when you just look at her again, I feel like you can do this with a lot of Catherine welz-stein's art. But if you just look at her from like here, it's like, oh, she looks kind of nice. And then there's her like little spider legs that are sort of hiding and she's blending with the mushrooms. So it's a very like sort of sneaky energy and there's webs all around. So it's like she's inviting you and it's like, it's very much a spider in the fly kind of moment, right? Which is very Devil. This tower, I think I saw this in the preview images, and this really struck me because here we have everything just falling apart and all she wants to do is hold it together. And man, is that ever a mood for the tower? Like her hair is turning into the smoke just as the tower is smoking. And she's a whole part of this experience, but this is her whole world and she's just trying to hold it together. And oh, it's so hard to just let go and let it all crumble, isn't it? The Star. So much like optimism in this image. It's hard for me to believe that this is collage, but I don't know a lot about collage. It's so smooth and it feels cohesive, even though there's so many like dissonant pieces. They're brought together in this harmonious way, which I I love that. I love that she's wild and so is this wolf or fox. It almost looks like a fox is howling next to her. Do foxes howl? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you know? Do foxes howl? But I love this. I love this sort of sea witch vibe we have happening here. The sun, made of light. And the sun being right around where her head is just also about, to me, like clarity and seeing things clearly. The Judgment card. Again, just like in Justice, we have a figure who seems very high up. And I think it's interesting that these are all very garden. But then when we get to both Justice and Judgment, we have more of a cityscape sort of environment. And it kind of makes me think about, like, especially where Justice is concerned, the more like structures of the world and society and how we have to blend with or work with the structures of our society. In Judgment, though, it almost feels like you're transcending that, like you're being invited to move beyond that. The World. I love this. Her skirt is like literally made up of a map of the earth. That is really pretty. There's a smaller earth here and a smaller earth here. You get to feel like she's part of the universe as a whole. Almost manipulating the universe in a way. Like, oh, so pretty. Oh, okay, so we're into the wands. This is freaking great. This reminds me of that moment when you're doing something, you're busy. Maybe you're working, maybe you're reading a book, you're doing something. Maybe you're making art or you're going for a walk and you have an idea and the idea just gets bigger and bigger until you know you can't ignore it. That's what I feel like here with this Ace of Wands. Like she was just doing stuff and an idea occurred to her and now the idea has totally taken over. Love that. The Two of Wands. She's holding the earth in her hand and she's like dreaming of what's possible and what's next. You also could get the idea here of almost escaping from or breaking free from maybe something that was holding her back. The Three of Wands. I love this. It's like she is like making her manifest happen. There's a lot of like empowerment in this deck when you're looking for it. It's almost like instead of just waiting for like the positive stuff to come to her, it's like she's going to be an active part of making it happen. That's what I see in this image. It's like she's actively like lifting up the ship and bringing it to her. The Four of Wands. Oh, this is great. This like sanctuary in the forest, this tiny like little, it looks to me, it's all out of perspective. It's like this like little maybe fae folk have created this beautiful sanctuary among these four trees. Five of Wands. Isn't that interesting? The idea of chess in the Five of Wands, I don't think it's the first time it's ever been done necessarily, and I love it. I think it really, really speaks to that idea of sort of, you know, are we working against one another? Are we working towards each other? Are we lifting one another up, or are we so caught up in competition? Really cool. Love that. The Six of Wands. This is really interesting. She's got the flower like dangled in front of the hummingbird as if she's like almost like the carrot in front of the donkey sort of analogy. So she's definitely making her own success. It's interesting too though because I don't see the external recognition that we normally recognize in the Six of Wands. I'd be curious to hear what the guidebook has to say about this card and what the take on it is. An accomplished woman rides triumphantly on a beautiful hummingbird. She has conquered the bird by attracting it with a colorful flower, which I definitely was picking up on. Having mastered many skills, she's filled with pride and a deep sense of accomplishment. Others acknowledge and applaud her success as well. We don't see that visually in the card, though. Now she can go on with her journey wherever she wants to go. 6 doves sitting on top of her riding stock look down at her in admiration. Oh, there's the ones recognizing her, of course. Cute. Ooh, 7 of Wands. He has fought some battles, standing up for what he believes in. The 8 of Wands, being very much swept up in the moment. The 9 of Wands, she's taken some wounds tending her roses. And she just keeps going. I love that. The 10 of Wands, all this beauty and wonderfulness with the flowers, all of that gorgeous stuff happening to her. But like it's still something that is like weighing her down in a way. It's still something that she has to carry, that she's got a lot on her plate. It's really, really pretty. Oops, I bumped my camera. The Page of Wands. This is so much a visual that I would normally expect to see with like the Page of Swords, but it also works for the Page of Wands. This idea of like, what are we going to do next? You also get this like almost like, with the toucan here and the parrot here, you almost, is that a lovebird? Looks a little bit like a lovebird. You almost get this feeling of being out on an adventure currently, and like it's making me think of a, what's the word for a, oh gosh, there's a word for it. But there's a word for a type of like jungle expedition. That's what that makes me think of. Oh, it's interesting that there's this like, it almost looks like a, it almost reminds me of the chalk drawings, but it's of a eagle or of a dove or something in the background there on the hillside. Gosh, this artwork is so dreamy. The Knight of Wands jumping through a flaming hoop. Accurate. Oh, that is a stunning Queen of Wands. I always see the Queen of Wands as somebody who is not afraid to stand in her power, and here she is with this beautiful peacock gown and the giant glowing sunflower, just drawing attention, but doing it in this graceful, beautiful way. Very Queen of Wands to me. Oh, I love him. This whole idea of like the flaming drum and like leading with the drum, this inspiring leading, making people feel called or moved to follow, that's what I see in this image. That is gorgeous. King of Wands as the feminine King of Wands. I like her, but not as much as him. So pretty. Oh my gosh, have we only done one minor arcana suit so far? Yeah, just the Wands. Oh my gosh. The Cups, my favorite suit ever, and this is gorgeous. She's kneeling, and she's very big compared to her environment, right? She's out of perspective, and there's this giant cup of just golden butterflies leaping from this cup that seems like it's almost like a never-ending supply of that fluttering joy. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. I love that the Two of Cups is not necessarily a stereotypical romantic couple. This almost speaks to people who have something in common, something shared. They feel bonded. I love that. I love the intertwining too. That can also speak to that sense of entanglement that can happen sometimes in a Two of Cups moment where we're very caught up in the attachment, but not really looking at what comes next or thinking about it deeper. Ah, this is so cute. It's like these three ladies got together and were like, let's hula hoop. And they're just out having a nice time together. I like that it's not so much focused on partying necessarily, but rather on enjoying one another's company. I like that. Oh, look at the Four of Cups. The geese are not normally this helpful, I would just like to say. They're normally a little crankier. But this goose is behind her, offering her shelter from the rain, and she's so busy being bummed out, she's not even noticing it. Or just checked out, you know? Interesting. All the rain everywhere, and she's dry and hasn't even noticed. So appropriate for the Four of Cups. The Five of Cups. Oh, I like to see figures in water in this suit, and I think it's, well, I guess I really like to see them in their element in any suit, but I pay a special attention, of course, to the cups because it's my favorite suit. But I love seeing the way that they're in their emotion, right? Like she's literally almost hip deep. Well, okay, she's knee deep in her emotions right now, and these little daffodil blooms is what they look like. No, not daffodils, daisies. Oh gosh, I'm bad with flowers. Well, these pretty yellow flowers have fallen off, but she still has two good blooms. The rest of the plant is actually thriving in this section. She's clinging to the old. The Six of Cups, wistfully looking back on that moment when she was a little younger and maybe life was a little simpler. But if you look, she's like growing, the grass or the greenery is growing right into her hair while she like sort of wistfully looks back on the past, so she may be missing her present. That is probably the prettiest Seven of Cups I've ever seen in my whole dang life. There's no words. She's literally head in the clouds, whole body in the clouds, just daydreaming. Oh, I love that. I am loving this artwork. It's just, and I loved the artwork of the Oracle of Mystical Moments. I just didn't really know how to bond with it, but this is really working. This artwork was clearly created to represent the tarot. It doesn't look like pre-existing artwork was applied to the tarot, but rather it was really created to depict these images. This Eight of Cups with the ladybug outfit is literally everything to me. To me, ladybugs are a representation of sort of our inner child and the quiet part of us that is pure and is good and deserves to be recognized and nurtured and taken care of. And I think a lot of times when we're in an Eight of Cups moment, that's who we're taking care of. We're taking care of that part of us, that vulnerable part of us, and we're seeking our joy. It's interesting, too, there's all these couples There's these two dragonflies, these two butterflies, these two little birds here, the two swans here, and here she is alone, and she's like, you know what, though? I got this. I'm going to go find what I need to find. So powerful. The Nine of Cups. Okay, well, it's not a dude with a bunch of wine. I wish she looked like she was having a better time, if that makes any sense. There are these 9 cups here. It works. It's not my favorite 9 of Cups ever, but it is really pretty. She just looks a little stiff and severe, and to me, the 9 of Cups is a very joyful, emotionally fulfilled card. She's a little bit armored, and I'm not sure how I feel about that in the 9 of Cups, but let's just see what the guidebook says about it, see if it changes my feels. A woman looking content and self-satisfied displays her golden fan. That fan is like, well, maybe it's gold, but it looks white. Its 9 rows of cups combined together stand for her emotional fulfillment. Her hair is covered with colorful flowers, and in the background are even more luxurious plants she carefully protects with her right arm. This woman gets great pleasure from the beauty and abundance she has cultivated in her life. This feels more, even the write-up feels a little more 9 of Pentacles to me, so I'd be curious to compare those two when the 9 of Pentacles comes up. But I also like this idea of protecting the contentedness, the happiness that you've built. That's definitely a 9 of Cups moment. I'm going to just turn that to the side so I try to remember when we get to the 9 of Pentacles. Oh, I love the 10 of Cups. So he looks like he may be part like shark and she part octopus or some kind of squid-like creature. And they're at home. They're well within their emotions. The rainbow is blooming on their... Blooming? Is that a word for rainbows? I don't think so. But there's lots of flowers in this deck, so I'm going with it. On the horizon. That's very pretty. I love this Page of Cups. Look at how enchanted she is by this little fish. And you could imagine that in her head, they're having like a conversation. Like she's like, hi, little Mr. Fish. What are you up to? Such a Page of Cups moment. Okay, well, that's freaking perfect for the Knight of Cups. Literally in the middle of the lotus flower, playing on somebody's heartstrings. Like, as if that's not the Knight of Cups, I don't know what is. I do kind of wish this was a masculine figure in the lotus with the heart. I think that would actually have just kicked it up a notch, but I love this. This is beautiful, and I love the lotus anytime. I can see it in the cup suit. I love the Queen of Cups. She has a seahorse friend. Her hair is made of tentacles. She is like sitting on her shell. She's totally at home within her emotion. I love her. I am loving this deck, you guys. I'm like really, truly. This King of Cups. Oh, the sea is within him. There are almost like, I think these are like whale tails or shark tails in down here that have breached the water. He's holding this ship. I love his facial expression too. He looks very like sensitive and approachable, like I want to see in my King of Cups. And then we have her. A similar idea, just definitely presented differently. Again, I think here I'm going to stick with the male for the king. I really like him. Ace of Swords. She has the key. What's she going to do with it? Oh, I love this. Or maybe she's handing it to you, and what are you going to do with it? She looks intelligent, right? The look on her face is like she's seeing right through you. And interesting, if you look up here, there's actually the keyhole right in the center of her hairpiece, that nautilus shell. Which, of course, that's sacred geometry, and that's really smart from like a science perspective. Oh, love that. The Two of Swords. Her head is covered up by this birdhouse. The birds are up there chitter-chattering away. It's probably hard to figure out her own thoughts in that environment. That really works for me for the Two of Swords. Oh, wow. Surrounded by thorns, heart right at the center of the chest, pierced by arrows, and these tears. Oh, poor dude. He's been through it. Well, that is a restful and beautiful Four of Swords. I'll take it. That's gorgeous. Ooh, the Five of Swords. Gosh, I feel like I could really sink into these images. So in the background, you have the shadow of what looks like a male figure, and he's got a hole where his heart should be with some loose stitching over it, and she's in the foreground. You definitely get the feeling like she's the winner, but look what she's done in the process of winning. Like, he's broken. His pieces, he's falling apart. Like, he's cracked all the way around. Like, damage, the damage is still done, right? Oh, and she's holding that missing piece. Look. So that's the piece missing from his heart. She's holding it. Oh, my gosh. This is so smart, the way this is done. Oh, I'm really excited to work with this deck. The Six of Swords, looking for a sanctuary to drop anchor for a while. And I love that the anchor is tied to the star, which of course is that representation of hope, sort of tying it together with the actual star card. I love that. Oh, I love this. I'm just going to say I love all the cards because so far that's what's happening. The Seven of Swords. Look at how beautiful she is, but she is literally a snake. She's just all covered up in flowers, and she is actively stealing one of these birds' eggs. So she's not nice, but she looks fine. I think it's really interesting how Katrin has depicted some of these kinds of ideas of like the duplicitous nature of the Seven of Swords is definitely showing here. The Eight of Swords, trapped, but the top of the cage is open. So remaining in captivity, even though you don't need to. Wow, the anxiety and wakefulness in this Nine of Swords. Wow, 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 wow. The Ten of Swords, all these hairpins stabbing. And it's interesting that they're all stabbing her. You don't have a clear idea if it's her or it's other people. Like in theory, it should be others, but you can't tell. But the sun is still bright and beautiful on the horizon. Yes. Okay, so I said I was going to compare, I think. Was it the page of... Oh, no, that was the Nine of Cups. I was thinking, though, about the page of... Let's go back and look at it. Hold on. The Page of Wands, because I mentioned that this detective glass thing is something that I would maybe think of as the Page of Wands. Just the idea of, like, being the detective in that sense. But, like, it's interesting because here we have the Page of Swords, who is, of course, our intellectual, and he's on top of this stack of books with a graduation cap on. And you get the feeling like, okay, I've done this work, I've got all this knowledge. I have opportunity now, right? Like it's intellectual opportunity or opportunity that's come about because of work and study. This would be I feel like this would be such a great deck to read with. That probably sounds really ridiculous, but I mean, some decks, you know, you daily draws and stuff, but I feel like this would actually do just a beautiful job in just about anything. The Knight of Swords here, riding a feather. I want to know what her dress says. Let's see. Something about right is worth the cost. A great many intelligent men who think that political... I'd be curious, has anybody read this? I'd be curious if it's readable or if you know what it's from. Maybe it's from a famous text. I'm not sure, but it looks like it might have meaning in this context. I love that she's literally like cutting a line through the clouds in her way and carving her own path. That's beautiful. The Queen of Swords, up in the air with a, I wanted to say a spyglass, but that's not quite fair. That's like a telescope? Singular binocular? I don't know what the right word is for that. If you know the right word for that, drop it down below. For some reason, I can't think of it. And maybe a telescope was right. I don't know. But you get the idea that what she's sitting on is what she can see, what she's zoomed in on. Like she's actually sitting on top of these trees. It almost looks like this is a cross-section of what she's seeing through the viewfinder. So it's almost like you can see what she... Do you know what I mean? It's like you can see what she sees. There's this idea of illuminating, of zooming in on the situation to find the truth. That's really interesting. Here we have our King of Swords and our King of Swords in the feminine. Oh, man. This artwork is also beautiful. You're almost hesitant to take anything out. I think I am going to continue to stick with the male depiction of the king, but gosh, she's really pretty. This idea that she's stitched. Ugh. This reminds me of the fairy tale about the mockingbird for some reason. Is it the mockingbird? Can't remember. And finally, we have our pentacles. The ace. I love that it just looks like a little bit of growth, but it's actually come from much deeper down. So there's more to that little plant than what meets the eye. The Two of Pentacles. Here we have a cityscape again, and she's balancing just on the tip top of it. We still have the lemniscate there. Gosh. This deck is something else. The Three of Pentacles. Oh, the birds. So this bird has a brick in its mouth, and this one has a little hammer, and they're helping her to craft this brick wall flower. So we've got that collaborative energy. The Four of Pentacles. All of these locks to protect her little house. It's like she's missing out on the potential for so much more, but she doesn't want to lose what she has. The Five of Pentacles. Feeling hollow and empty in the snow, and her flower is dying, but she's just like not turning around to see what possibility exists for help. Oh, look at this. So there are drops of tea. There's a figure here on the spout of the teapot, but the teapot itself has scales, as if it's going to be fair with how the tea is distributed. The Seven of Pentacles. Perfect for harvest and waiting to see how things are going to turn out. She's got her piece of fruit there. There's lots of different things in this tree. And lots of fruit along the ground as well. The Eight of Pentacles. Here we have mastery. It's like she's hugging this butterfly and like painting its wings. It's pretty. The Nine of Pentacles. Very content in the garden. This is the one I wanted to compare. So here we have the Nine of Cups. And here we have the Nine of Pentacles. Yeah, they have she definitely feels very Nine of Pentacles. Probably more so than her. Okay, I'm over it now. Okay, my cards are still upright. All right. Oh, I love this. Okay, so the Ten of Pentacles. We have this big, large estate-style home in the background with this little family looking with the dog and the generations in front. Here we have the elderly man and all these rings in the tree, and you get the idea of having taken care of. This is the legacy. You almost get the feeling that this is his view, or this is a view of him after he's passed on, and he's like, yeah, I laid a good foundation for my loved ones, for my family. Love that for the Ten of Pentacles. And the Page, our little gardener. Such a great symbol for the Page. The Knight, taking her time, moving slowly, tending. The Queen of Pentacles. She has a basket of flowers, so pretty. Little bunnies down at her feet. And our two kings. Definitely going with him. I love me some antlers and a King of Pentacles. That just really works for me, but these are both, again, very beautiful. So I will work with the male king. Okay, let's zoom out. Let's do a shuffle. They feel like they're going to shuffle really nicely, actually. They are bigger, little stiff, so a little bit of like on the thumbs with the gilding. But it's not such a stiff cardstock that I think it'd be super hard to deal with. All right, let's pull one and read another entry in the guidebook and take a look at how the guidebook is set up. Ah, the Tower. I was commenting on that, on her holding it together, so that's a cool one to have picked. Okay, let's take a quick look at the guidebook. So, an intro. Then we get right into card meanings. So let's take a look at the Tower. So then there's no card images in the guidebook. I think that's fine. Like, I don't feel like we need a ton with this deck. Feels very intuitive as far as reading goes. So it says, on this card we see a woman grasping a tower, attempting to prevent it from collapsing. But the tower, which is situated on a volcano, is already beginning to explode, and there's nothing that can stop the destruction. A big crack is splitting the building, and rocks and dark ash fill the air. The woman's hair has turned into smoke, so she is unable to extricate herself from this traumatic event. Yet the tower may represent falsehoods and deceptions that need to be destroyed. So the upright meaning, crisis, chaos, traumatic event, upright change, and a fall from grace. Reversed meaning, containment, smooth transition, preventing disaster. So that really works. And then we just have card meanings all the way through, it looks like. And there's, I think, one, so there are different write-ups for the female and the male kings in the suits, so that's good to know. And then we have this one spread, Reading with the Tarot of Mystical Moments, and a little bit about Katrin. So it's a pretty simple little guidebook, but to be honest, there's so much depth in this deck that I don't mind that at all. I'm going to just take my extra cards and pop them in the bottom of the box. And let's see how these fan. I'm pretty sure they're going to fan really, really nicely. But let's turn my Tower card over and give us a little shuffle. No need to leave the Tower on top, is there? No, I think not. Oh, look at that. Well, that was satisfying. Oh, I even made a huge fan. Okay, let's just bring it in a little, Lisa. Let's calm down. Okay, there we go. So that, my friends, is the Tarot of Mystical Moments by US Games and Katrin welz-stein. Wow, pretty, pretty, pretty deck. Very happy I picked this one up. I had pre-ordered this through Amazon because US Games doesn't ship directly to Canada. And it sat and sat and sat on pre-order, and it just wasn't shipping, and people were getting them. And I was like, but where's mine? And so several months later, I have it now, and I'm so pleased. I'm so glad I pulled the trigger on this one. I almost didn't because I had rehomed the Oracle of Mystical Moments, but wow, this is a stunner. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this first impressions walkthrough of the Tarot of Mystical Moments. I really appreciate you chilling with me while I take a tour through the cards. As always, please do click the like button if you enjoyed this video or you found value in it. Do subscribe if you're new here, and don't forget to click the bell so you're notified of my future videos. As always, there are links in the description box down below for ways that you can support the channel if you would like to do that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And as always, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys.